Cain, who has signaled his intention to run for Texas' newly redrawn 9th Congressional District, which has long been occupied by Representative Al Green. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm guest host Doug Miller. We'll also discuss the state of crime here in Houston with Jay Coons, Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice at Sam Houston State, and Dr. Beth Gilmore, Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice at the University of Houston downtown.
And I'm guest host Chau Nguyen. We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts, questions, or concerns? Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870. Or you can email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
And you can also watch us on YouTube. Just go to houstonpublicmedia.org and click on that big orange banner.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump says he is firing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook amid allegations she committed mortgage fraud. NPR's Scott Horsley says Cook is pledging to fight back.
This is the latest escalation in President Trump's effort to exert more control over the Federal Reserve. It follows allegations by a Trump ally that Cook made false statements on a mortgage application 4 years ago. The attempt to fire Cook comes in the midst of a high-pressure campaign by the president to get the Fed to lower interest rates. By law, the central bank is designed to be insulated from that kind of political meddling. Cook said in a statement Trump has no authority to fire her, and she vowed to continue to serve on the Fed's governing board. Her attorney says the president's, quote, reflex to bully lacks any legal authority, and he promised to take whatever actions are needed to prevent what he called an illegal firing. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
A legal battle is underway over a bid to deport Kilmar Abrego Garcia to Uganda. The Maryland man has been fighting to remain in the U.S. with his family since he was wrongfully deported to El Salvador earlier this year and detained in a notorious prison. Months later, he was returned to the U.S., and last week he was released from a Tennessee jail to await trial on human smuggling charges to which he has pleaded not guilty. Yesterday, Abrego Garcia was detained shortly after an immigration check-in in Baltimore. A court stepped in to block Abrego Garcia's deportation while his case is pending. Maryland Democratic Congressman Glenn Ivey calls on the Trump administration to halt its deportation efforts, saying Abrego Garcia has a constitutional right to a trial.
They charged him with these crimes. They said they could prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. It's time to do it.
Abrego Garcia's case became a flashpoint in the administration's standoff with the judicial system over due process. The administration is threatening to re-examine federal funding to jurisdictions that don't end cashless bail policies. The District of Columbia, where Trump has now federalized law enforcement, moved away from cash bail decades ago, in part to address the disproportionate number of poor black people who could not afford to pay and languish in jail until trial. Alex Coma of member station WAMU says the system was reformed for other reasons as well.
They were concerned about people being released too early because if you did have the money to pay, you could get out. Whereas now judges have a lot more discretion here to hold people. Just 4% of all people released before trial last year were actually accused of violent crimes. And this has come with very few negative consequences for the city, if any. I mean, roughly 90% of D.C. defendants still show up for their court dates, and very few, we're talking something like 3% in most years, are rearrested while awaiting trial.
Alex Coma with member station WAMU on NPR's Up First. The Dow is up 5 points at 45,288. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. A new Texas law set to take effect on September 1st will increase the penalty for assaulting a utility worker, making it equal to that of assaulting a first responder. News 88.7's Kyle McClinigan has more.
Under the new law, assaulting a utility worker will be a third-degree felony, and harassing a utility worker will increase to a Class A misdemeanor. The new penalties only apply if the assault or harassment occurs while the worker is on the clock. Houston State Senator Carol Alvarado authored the bipartisan bill. Speaking on the Senate floor earlier this year, she said it was written in response to utility workers in the Houston area facing threats of violence as they work to restore power following Hurricane Beryl.
Despite these risks, utility workers remain on the front lines ensuring access to electricity, gas, and telecommunications. These changes ensure that utility workers receive the same level of protection as other emergency personnel during times of crisis.
The new law will cover utility workers in the electricity, gas, telecommunication, and pipeline industries. I'm Kyle McClinigan, News 88.7.
The Texas House takes up a bill today that could alter the STAR test given to students. The measure breaks up the tests into multiple exams. State Representative Gina Hinojosa is speaking out against it.
So rather than one STAR test at the end of the school year, this bill would create 3 STAR tests throughout the year.
She rallied with students at the state capitol Monday asking for the test to be abolished altogether. If the legislation passes, it would not go into effect until 2027. 2 women were seriously injured yesterday on Highway 290 after an 18-wheeler lost its load. Traffic was shut down after a crash between the truck and another car caused bricks to scatter across the highway. The truck's trailer also crossed the barrier into the HOV lane. The 2 who were injured had to be cut out of the car that they were in, and life flight was called to the scene. KHOU reports 1 woman had a brain bleed and a spinal injury. It's unclear at this time what led to the crash. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance with its Name Your Price tool, a way to see coverage options based on a driver's budget. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Kind of. Frank
Sort of.
Billingsley's here.
What happened to those other 2 folks? I don't know. Where are they?
Ernie's on a much-earned vacation, and Celeste is at a conference.
Yeah, summer, right?
So we have Chau Nguyen with us.
So good to be back.
Nice to see you again. And Doug Miller.
Good to be visiting with you
KHOU
again.
bookends for me.
Right.
That's
It's kind of a TV media reunion of sorts, right?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Three people with faces for, well, never mind.
Hey, let me ask you, do you miss television?
I miss the people. I don't miss the grind. Yeah. Miss
Doug?
my colleagues.
Same thing, it was tough chasing a story on an everyday basis, but television, it's an incredibly powerful medium, as you know, and standing out in the rain though in the middle of a hurricane, take it or leave it.
Well,
honestly.
In this heat,
Yeah.
with black hair, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, it's always something. I don't miss the schedule, but of course I was 2 to 11 for 40 years. So, you get a quick dinner, but you miss a lot of family time, and people stop inviting you to do things at night because, they don't invite you to dinner parties because, A, you don't have time to go, and if you do go, you're out quickly. And a lot of times you have to cancel at the last minute if there's severe weather. So it's like, don't invite them.
But I bet people still call you a lot, Frank, on the weather, even though you're out of the weather.
I get questions a lot.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
But that's okay. I still understand a little bit of weather. Speaking of which, there's a few showers. I tell you what, the humidity this morning felt like a brick wall. I walked outside with the dogs and I thought, oh my gosh. But when it's humid like that, that tells me the chances of rain are a little better today than yesterday. Yesterday was pretty quiet. 30% chance today. Still in the 90s, feeling a little warmer. 50% tomorrow. So keep an umbrella handy.
It's good for the yard, good for the garden, you know.
The plants don't complain because water out of a sprinkler system or a hose just is not the same as rain. Rain brings down great phosphorus and nitrogen.
I hadn't even thought about that.
They love rainwater. Rainwater's a whole lot better than just tap water. And tap water, tap water's got a lot of chemicals in it. The least of which is fluoride, which is probably good for your teeth,
and it's free. Rainwater's free.
Yeah, well, a lot of galvanized and iron pipes in Houston are corroding because of all that water through them for so long. So you're drinking it.
Well, I don't drink out of the tap because of that taste.
A lot of people don't. No, a lot of people. I'm not a doctor, but I have heard that tap water can be not the best water for you. But then they say bottled water is in plastic, and maybe that's not the best water for you. So maybe we should all just collect rainwater. And
that's right. do what Tom Hanks did over there on Castaway Island. Just gather the rainwater and try to survive on that. Huh?
Yeah, he survived. That's for sure. So let's. We got a lot to talk about today, but we've got Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice, Sam Houston State, Jay Coons, along with the Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice at the University of Houston downtown, Dr. Beth Gilmore, to talk about crime. Which you say, I'll talk about crime, but President Trump has been sending National Guards into Washington, D.C. based on the whole idea that crime is unprecedented and that it's out of control. So I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation. And I hope you'll join it out there. Yeah. Give us a call, 713-440-8870. In the meantime, Chau, tell us about State Rep Briscoe Cain.
Well, he is supposed to be joining us, but we learned just late word just a few minutes ago. He is still stuck in chambers, I understand.
He got called into the House.
Yeah, he got called into the House.
He's earning the money today.
He is, but he is, he's a conservative, self-professed conservative Republican, probably one of the most conservative in the legislature, and he has decided to announce his candidacy for these new redrawn lines. He's a Republican out of Deer Park, has 5 kids, is an attorney, and on Autism Awareness Day back in 2019 at the legislature, announced that he has Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of autism. Some of that looks like not reading social cues, maybe not looking at people eye to eye.
He is running
high functioning, though.
Yeah, and he's going to run in the 9th Congressional District, which has been radically redrawn in the new Republican.
It was Al Green's seat for years.
It's Al Green's seat, and it still is for the moment. What time is it? But for the moment, it's still Al Green's seat.
Everyone's giving up, from what I'm hearing. It's like, well, this has been redrawn. It includes pretty much all of Liberty County, very red county, and so this seat that's been a Democrat stronghold for years is now going to be a Republican seat. And whoever runs for it's going to get it.
Liberty County voted 4-1 for President Trump over Kamala Harris. So I think that was, you may get a token opponent, Democrat running that seat, but whoever it is, it is an extreme long shot. I hate to even say the word long shot. They've drawn these districts with great precision to see to it that members of one party will be the only people who have a chance in it. So,
and he's never run before for this office.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't. But he's been in the Texas legislature since I believe 2017. Mm-hmm. But he's been there for quite some time, and his state legislative district overlaps with the new 9th Congressional District. And anybody knows, you go out and talk to folks out in Liberty County and over in East Harris County, a more conservative political bent. So the moment I was actually at an Astros ball game, watching the ball game, sitting next to someone who, a political operative, who said, "Oh, here are the new maps." Pulled them up and said, "Oh my God, look what they've done to Al Green." She was a Democrat, so she did that right away. Spotted what it was. The bullseye was right on the back of Al Green. So it
well, I wish he was here.
Impossible.
I have a lot of questions for him.
Well,
sure, you bet.
He'll make it hopefully tomorrow. I think the other interesting thing is it's not going to be just about Briscoe Cain.
No.
We've got other big high-profile candidates who have announced their putting their hat in the ring, including Alex Del Moral Mueller.
Right.
We remember her face and her name during the election for Harris County Judge and the ads we saw with Mattress Mac. She is also a self-professed conservative Republican and has considered herself a strong candidate and was supported by the likes of not just high-profile public figures like Mattress McInville, but other Republican operatives.
Right.
Well, it's definitely early.
Yeah, and it's going to be a calf scramble. Let's get serious here. Anytime a congressional seat comes open like this, let me be the first to declare I am not running for the 9th Congressional District nor any other seat.
Well, you could. Everybody else could.
Doug has sunset into retirement.
Yeah, that's. But it is going to be. I would be very surprised if we have fewer than 5 candidates in this race.
Do you think
these
it's going to be
come along? They come along once every 20 years, and after that, it's like being Pope. Honestly, you were there until you really screw up, or you die, or you decide.
Just incumbency.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to be a big question of candidates this year in places like Houston and Dallas? What's your position on sending the National Guard into Houston, Texas?
No,
or do people care?
No, I think it's nationalized. I really do. I think if you lean Republican, you're going to vote Republican. If you are Republican, you're going to vote Republican. If you lean Democrat, you're going to vote Democrat. If you are Democrat, you're going to vote Democrat.
So there's no real separating issue.
Well, I think for independents there are. Of course there are for independents, but not for, but the problem is these districts are structured to play to hardcore Republicans, hardcore Democrats, or leaners.
I get that. Every now and then it seems like the tide turns a little bit with both Democrats and Republicans.
Well, we've heard that in the wake of the post-Trump election with the Latino voters, particularly those down south who have voted for Trump, and with some polls reporting that maybe these voters are taking a second look and at midterms maybe going back the other way.
The way ICE is acting might be a separation.
That could be. That could be.
Turner,
that.
If the National Guard actually comes out into cities and is then kind of deputized to also be ICE agents, that might really put people in a position where they don't feel comfortable.
It could very well. Frankly, I think what I've been seeing out of Washington, we've been hearing about people who don't like seeing them up there. It's a fairly democratic city, obviously. Yeah. So but I think if they deployed National Guard troops in the streets of Houston, you get a mixed reaction. I'd like to hear what people have to say about that. I'm curious. I haven't talked to many people about that. What if National Guard troops came to Houston?
Well, we want to hear from them.
Well, the potholes alone would scare them off.
The heat.
Yeah. Speaking of which.
Yeah. Listen, we want to hear from you, the listeners and the viewers on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember our number, 713-440-8870.
All right, this is interesting. This Texas House bathroom bill has been advanced out of committee and will go to the House floor now, known as Senate Bill 8. Tensions flared the other day on Friday because of this whole transgender ban for bathrooms. An attorney named C.J. Grisham spoke in favor of the bill. It's been obviously supported by Greg Abbott. It's hard to get a sense of what it's doing other than saying if you are not biologically female, and they get very specific in this bill, if you don't have eggs in your body, you're not a female. And if you don't have sperm in your body, you're not a male. I mean, they've gotten very specific on the language. So if you are not a female, you're not allowed in a public bathroom that is for females unless you are biologically so. And if you get caught, you're going to face a $5,000 fine. So it's pretty tough. I don't know who's there to enforce this, but all it takes is a few times.
Well, that's the rub. How are you going to know if somebody's transgender when you get right down to it?
Yeah,
what are they going to do if somebody dropped their
Especially
pants in the middle of it?
I mean, women's bathrooms are very private.
Yeah.
There have been occasions in my life where the men's bathroom was shut down and they allowed us to go into the women's, and you see each other in a mirror at the sink, and that's about it. So men's rooms obviously had become a little bit different, but here's the thing: do you believe that transgender is a real thing? And you're a psychologist.
I'm a social worker. I'm clinical.
Is it a real thing, or do people make it up somehow?
I don't think so. I think that people listen. It's a case-by-case basis, and if you identify as a woman and you've taken steps to honor your truth, then your truth should be honored. But that's my personal opinion. And look, I've worked at social services agencies, and we've tackled this issue. And how we've tackled it is we had an exclusive restroom for those who were transgender, if the other staff felt uncomfortable. That was kind of our resolution to addressing that issue, to be an inclusive and welcoming environment.
Sure. I mean, if you believe it's a real thing, then I think you have an obligation to honor freedom of expression. And certainly you have the 14th Amendment of equal protection under the law for everyone. So I think these people that want to pass these kind of bills don't believe it's a real thing.
I think that there's a lot of that. I think a lot of people underestimate just how many transgender people there are. The data that I've seen, more than 120,000 in the state of Texas. And I was not really made aware of it until a friend of mine's daughter decided to transition, was attempting suicide. It's for real. It's for real. There is an issue out there, and I think a lot of people are trying to ignore it, but there it is.
I would encourage people to just educate themselves, learn more,
on so
understand.
Much. But yes,
but understand.
Well, Ernie likes to say, in terms of numbers, there are as many transgender people in the world as there are redheads. You don't now when you come across a redhead, to your point, when you come across a redhead, you say, there's a redhead. You come across a transgender person, you may or may not know.
Yeah.
But I have several personal friends that are transgender, and I just learned last week a friend of mine, his brother's child is transgender. So it is a real thing, and if it's a real thing, you have to accommodate it, or you simply respect it, and work from there. Not just say this doesn't exist.
Or we go to bathrooms without any sexual designation to them, which is what I know a lot of public places have done that. It simply said, it's a bathroom, go in. I was over in Europe, I forget where it was, just a few months ago, and one of the restaurants I went into, you walk in and the men and women share all of the sinks and their individual stalls, and you duck into it and nobody...
That's kind of like iPick, the iPick theater. I mean, you have your own stalls, but then you share the sinks.
Sure.
Let's have a call. Kelly from Bryan. Hello, Kelly. Welcome to Hello Houston. What's on your mind?
Hey, two things. Number one, I don't care who uses which bathroom. Wash your hands and don't pee on the floor.
Right.
And number two,
and don't smoke.
They've got this. Well, no, anywhere. But anyway, the other part is I no longer have eggs in my body. So would they like me to just pee on the floor in the middle of the restaurant? Because this one's too old. There are no eggs left.
Kelly, let me ask you this. You're at, let's say as a man, I take my sons into a restroom like at an Astros game. And a person who is transgender and looks just like a woman comes into that bathroom because they have to and perhaps pulls out their male organ. And now my sons are saying, Dad, first of all, why is a woman in the bathroom? And second of all, why does this woman have a male organ? And now you're trying to explain this to 8 and 10 and 12-year-olds because you wouldn't allow this transgender person to use the bathroom with which they identify.
And the other
it creates a whole problem.
The other problem you face is there are probably some guys, and it could be some guys in that restaurant. They're going to look over there and see a guy dressed as a woman. They're not going to be happy about it. They might have had a few beers. It could be a problem. Let's be blunt.
It could be. You're absolutely right. My British computer guy, who we love, he's on YouTube with us all the time. Thank you, Kelly, by the way, for the comments. I appreciate it. He says the bathroom bill is BS. If a person is going to commit a crime in a bathroom, I'd say the criminal is unlikely to don a dress to do it. They're just going to do it because there is that suggestion that someone might dress as a woman so they could go into a woman's bathroom and I guess peek at women. I mean,
listen,
assault a woman.
Yeah. So I work in the world of sexual assault, as you know, as a clinical social worker, and I have yet to hear of a story of a perpetrator in the bathroom dressed as a woman. This issue has really demonized the transgender community and created discrimination. And as Doug mentioned, there have been cases and high rates of suicides and suicide attempts against the transgender community. And as you raise legislation and policy like this, you are going to further alienate and discriminate these complicated issues. These are human beings. They deserve the same level of dignity and respect that all of us have.
I think it takes, like to Doug's point, knowing someone who is transgender or knowing someone who's child or perhaps father, Yeah. I mean, we all watch Bruce Jenner change to Caitlyn Jenner. Yeah. So it's not like it doesn't happen.
Terrific documentary. I would encourage anybody who's curious, who might have, feelings or opinions about that, to watch that documentary about Caitlyn Jenner. It's fascinating, and it really gives you an inside look at the struggles, the emotional, the mental struggles to get from where he was, which was a GOAT, a greatest of all time athlete, a decathlete, to where she is now.
And to your point, no one chooses to be trans. They simply choose to live their truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have to respect that. And there is a way to figure this out. I mean, I've been to so many hotels now and restaurants that are all gender, and just simply say, for everyone, for all.
Yeah.
That's as simple as that. Now, I get that when you have large facilities like a school, it's hard to suddenly turn that into one stall per person. But you know what? You could very easily make stalls very, very private. And work it out from there.
Yeah, I think.
It's just whether you want to. But if you have bills like this going down to the House floor and they say, well, no, we're not going to do it, we'll see if they can make it happen or not.
Hey, Doug, they're paying attention to your question about deploying the National Guard here to Houston. We got a text saying if deploying the National Guard to help with crime in cities is such a great idea by Trump, why is he not sending it to high crime cities in Republican-run areas if it's such a great idea? You would think he would send them first to Republican cities and tell Democrats to figure it out.
If it was truly to protect people, you'd think he'd protect Republican people first. Is that what you're suggesting?
I guess so.
Well, the other part of this is that when I hear from people up in Washington, they're talking. They say, why are these National Guard people on the National Mall? Why are they in Georgetown, where all the tourists are? Why are they taking selfies with people instead of going down to Anacostia, where they really do have kind of a crime problem? What are they doing in the more yuppified areas of the city?
Well, to be really paranoid, I would suggest that if you put enough National Guard in blue cities, then you're going to prevent any uprising or any protests, peaceful or otherwise, in those cities. If you don't need National Guard in red areas, they're not going to uprise. But it's almost like there's this idea going on that blue cities are going to somehow create civil war, and in order to squash that, let's go ahead and get the National Guard in place to make sure that doesn't happen. Of course, we're going to be talking to some crime experts coming up in our next segment.
Yeah, and that really is a question we'll have to bring up there. Does it really, when you throw a bunch of people in uniform out into it, does that actually reduce the crime rate? I mean, it seems to me if you threw 1,000 people at the city of Houston right now and said, can you use 1,000 more people in uniform to help with your crime problem? First reaction would be, well, yeah, I guess we could use 1,000 more cops, I guess. I don't know we'd put them on the street, though. Well, I think we want to put them investigating crimes. It makes us feel better to see a lot of uniforms on the street, but perhaps we need more people investigating burglary rings, more people trying to solve crimes as opposed to just driving up and down the streets.
And making sure evidence kits don't disappear.
You also peel back that layer, and if you really want to address crime, you look at you better your communities.
Yeah.
You better housing issues, poverty, health care. Child care, those things. That's how you reduce crime.
I'll never forget something a former Houston police chief told me. He said, and they were talking about, he was talking about, at some point he said, it's not a crime problem. It is a social problem.
It is.
And you don't solve the crime problem by throwing blue at it. I thought that was a very interesting observation.
I was in walking through Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris a couple weeks ago, and they have uniformed people with AK-47s or assault rifles. That's the disturbing part. It's one thing to see people in uniform with a holstered pistol. It's another to see them in fatigues carrying a machine gun, because that's not our culture. It's common in Italy, it's common in Mexico, common in South America, it's common in a lot of places, but it's not common here. And he's making it common. Trump is making it a common thing.
Well, you're militarizing your streets.
But I think it should be pointed out that we've been seeing that for quite some time. We've been seeing more the militarization of police forces, especially after 9/11. When the military started getting old gear, every little town had a SWAT tank that they got from somewhere. You see the cops dressed up in black pajamas like ninjas. There's a painting that Norman Rockwell did back in the 50s or 60s of a kindly policeman in his blue uniform sitting at a fountain talking to a little boy who'd run away from home. And that's the old image of the cop we had before. The Barney Fife image, maybe, if you want to call it that, Sheriff Andy Taylor image. Now we've got these guys dressed up like ninjas, and here are the ICE people covering their faces. That looks like militarization.
Yeah, that's not relational policing.
Yeah. I want to move on to the next story. I do want to say, I don't know if you saw that Trump is suggesting we not call it the Department of Defense any longer. We call it the Department of War. He doesn't like the department. He doesn't like defense. So let's go to Powerball.
It was before.
Are you going to play Powerball?
For $1 billion, maybe.
Absolutely.
But I very rarely play. It'd be more fun to play in a pool.
It's not quite $1 billion. It's up to a mere $815 million.
But it's tomorrow night.
So
we have 44 hours to get there.
You got time. You got time.
We will. I bet we will.
Well,
we'll get over $1 billion.
I think they base this on an estimate of how many tickets are going to go. So we probably won't go to $1 billion this time. They base it on this estimate. But there's Forbes magazine did a really interesting take on this. It isn't actually $815 million you get.
The payout.
Yeah.
Payout.
Because here's the deal. You can take if you decide, you can do it one of two ways. You take the big cash payment, a big lump sum, or you can take 30 annualized payments. And what they do is they take that lump sum and they basically turn it into an annuity for you. Now,
yeah, but don't take the payments. Take the lump sum.
Well, there are two different views on that. I've talked to attorneys.
What if you die?
Well, yeah, then you win. Okay, you're ahead. Hey, no, but I've talked to attorneys who've dealt with people. They have advised people to take the 25 annual payments simply because they say people worry about losing all of their money, no matter how much it is. But that's just But here's the deal. Interesting numbers on this. $815 million isn't really $815 million. If you take a one lump sum payment, the cash payout, according to Forbes, is going to be $367.9 million. Now, if you decide to take that, though, you're going to have to pay a mandatory 24% federal withholding tax, which drops you down to $279.6 million, okay? Now, after that, you figure in the 37% federal marginal tax rate, and that slashes it further down to $231 million, $231.8 million. And you'd have to learn how to get by on that.
Right.
If you take now, if you do the installment route, your annual payments around $27.2 million. Figure in the taxes, it's $17.1 million a year. So there you go. You can go either $231.8 million in a lump sum or $17.1 million for 30 years.
I need a private wealth manager to help me understand what would be the best return on investment. I was telling Frank that that's more than enough money in multiple lifetimes. And you and I were joking about what we would do with it. I would say there's more than enough to spend and to give.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's like Bluebell. Spend all you can and save the rest.
Yeah.
That's right.
I would love to hear some people's fantasies about what they do with the lottery money.
Yeah.
Everybody's got one. What would you do with that kind of money?
Well, Alex from YouTube says, when I win, it's free tacos for the whole YouTube crew.
Okay.
Oh, thanks,
That's
Alex.
a lot of tacos there, but we'll go for it.
She always comes through for us, Alex. I appreciate that. Would you have bail money?
Bail money?
Yes.
It may not do me any good, or I might not need bail money if President Trump has his way.
I know. What do you think about this next story?
That's that's interesting. Yeah.
The cashless bail issue.
Yeah. So President Trump on Monday signed a couple of executive orders targeting cashless bail. He claims that in certain Democratic cities, it's leading to higher crime, more criminal activity. So cashless bail, people who've been following it will know this. It's a system that lets people be released from pretrial detention without paying any money. The condition of the release depends largely on how severe the crime is. So if you've committed a low-level crime, nonviolent crime, you have a higher chance of being released.
So it's your own recognizance.
Yeah, right. So this has been an ongoing thing, even here in Harris County, of course. We've major arguments about that, and of course, the people who are in the bail bonding business don't like the idea of cashless bail, and neither do the politicians they have supported generously through the decades.
Cash bail affects poor people more than it affects rich people.
Right.
But let us not forget that cashless bail is an existing system in the federal courts. Mm-hmm. People are getting out on their personal recognizance.
Yeah.
So it is something that is still used, and by and large, in the federal courts, those suspects show up because if they don't, the feds are going to come get them.
Well, the problem is that if you can't afford bail, you try to go to a bail bond company, and you have to pay 10% of what your bond is.
Or less.
But if you can't pay any bail, you have to stay in jail, and you stay in jail even if you didn't commit the crime.
Exactly.
And so it really affects poor people.
And you are presumed innocent. Let me point out, you are not you're not guilty of a crime in that circumstance. You are presumed innocent.
Right.
So,
but Donald Trump does not want cashless bail.
Right.
He wants everybody to pay bail.
It's been a big debate over whether cashless bail has contributed to crime. Of course, the problem is if one person is released on cashless bail who commits a heinous crime, the anecdote overrides any sort of statistical argument.
That person could
it.
find a way to get out with cash bail and still go commit that crime. But if you're that kind of a criminal, you probably have some high connections. The boss will get you out.
Well,
that's
maybe.
my guess. We'll see. Anyway, we'll see where that goes. If you have thoughts for us, 713-440-8870. It looks like we're going to move on out of here.
Yeah.
I love this. The pumpkin spice latte has returned to Starbucks, which means summer's over.
Doesn't feel like it in Texas and Houston.
Your beverage budget is now added here. So there you go.
All right. Well, we've had a lot of great conversation. Coming up on Hello Houston, we're going to talk about the state of crime here in Houston with Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice at Sam Houston State, Jay Coons, and Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice at the University of Houston downtown, Dr. Beth Gilmore. Stay with us. This is News 88.7.
With federal support gone, Houston Public Media needs a stronger foundation for the future. The Houston Public Media Resiliency Fund is our response to ensure this service remains strong, stable, and community-powered. Your gift today helps us stay on the air tomorrow and the day after that. Give now to the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
It's on tonight at 9 o'clock.
Hi, this is Matt Harrop. There's been a lot of news to cover in Houston over the last few months. Keep listening to Houston Public Media for the latest, and if you've got a car, truck, boat, or RV you don't need anymore, donate it to the station. It could be worth hundreds of dollars in support. The donation process is easy for you, and we'll pick up your vehicle in any condition. Here's how to get started. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org/cars to learn more. Thank you.
My name is Michael Lawson, Houston Market President of St. Luke's Health, a member of Common Spirit Health. Access to quality information is vital for healthy communities to thrive. That's why St. Luke's Health is a proud supporter of Houston Public Media.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from the Hildebrand MBA at UT Austin's Macomb School of Business, offering the Weekend MBA at Houston. Applications open August 2025. Details at texasmba.com. Make it here.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, learn about the fight to address air pollution and pass the Clean Air Act in 1963. American Experience presents Clearing the Air, the War on Smog. Tonight at 8 on TV8.
Support comes from the Houston Museum of Natural Science, presenting Audubon's Birds of America, showcasing life-size, vibrantly colored renderings of more than 400 American birds, including some now extinct. Closing September 1st. Details and tickets at hmns.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Frank Billingsley with Chau Nguyen and Doug Miller.
Today, we are taking a closer look at the state of crime in Houston, a city where overall crime is on the decline, but some neighborhoods, like Meyerland, are seeing some troubling increases. So we must ask, what is really driving these shifts? What kinds of crimes are on the rise? How are law enforcement and city leaders responding to all of this? Well, to help us make sense of the numbers and the narratives behind them, we're joined by two distinguished guests. Jay Coons is Clinical Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice at Sam Houston State University. He's also a former captain with the Harris County Sheriff's Office, where he served for over 36 years. And Dr. Beth Gilmore, Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice at the University of Houston downtown, whose work focuses on urban crime trends, that is, and also policing strategies. Good morning to each of you, and we really appreciate both of you. Welcome to Hello Houston.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And by the way, if anybody out there listening would like to join the conversation, give us a call or a text at 713-440-8870. So tell us where we stand right now. Give us some sense. It is difficult to take a subject like crime and reduce it to statistics, but exactly where do we stand in terms of our crime stats here in the Houston area? Jay Coons, I'll let you speak first.
Well, crime appears to be going down in the Houston area, and it's generally trending downward throughout the United States. The reasons for that don't quite know. It could be a number of things, but it is trending down at the current time.
So, Dr. Gilmore, you're seeing those same trends. Do you have any thoughts about why we might be seeing a decline in crime? Or is it simply one of those things that's hard to chart?
It is somewhat difficult to track crime. Now one of the things that's important to keep in mind is that we did see spikes during COVID, right? So it would be a natural expectation to anticipate that we would see some specific types of crime start to lower in the aftermath of a spike that we just experienced.
Well, when you say crime is down, are you talking about crimes that people are convicted of, arrested for, victims out there? How do you make that determination?
So here's the interesting thing that I think about, and that question was directed for me, right? So I just want to make sure I'm not speaking over. But here's the interesting thing about crime and crime rate. So what we know about crime rate, so if we're looking at the number of incidences that are reported to police that then police report up through NIBRS, which is a federal database that tracks crime, right? What we know is that only about half of crime is actually ever reported. And there's fluctuations based on the type of crime, right? It tends to be more serious crimes or crimes that involve property damage in which there may be an insurance claim and things of that nature where we will see, a higher frequency of reporting. Similarly, like during COVID, we saw a decrease in certain types of crime. So concerningly so was a sharp, dramatic decrease in incidents of child abuse. Now, a lot of experts that have kind of weighed in on this will say it wasn't that there was less incidents of child abuse. It's that during the COVID lockdown, less children were being seen by reporters, by coaches and teachers and doctors and people that would call in. So crime rate and what we're talking about is it's reported crime. And you have to remember there's a lot of crime that goes unreported.
That's interesting. So you mentioned child abuse. Jay, what are the top crimes that we are seeing on the increase and on the decrease?
Your property crimes vary. They vary with the economy. As Beth made a great point about people being exposed to reporters. Domestic abuse, same thing. So it's just, we have to deconstruct that. What's happening in a specific area? Crime is a good bit like the real estate market. There's no such thing as a national real estate market. It's very home-centric. And especially here in a large area like Houston, where you have so many different sub-communities. So you really have to get in and figure out what is happening in a specific community. Why is that happening, as opposed to looking at general trends.
There is a tendency to sort of nationalize this, isn't there, Dr. Coons? People look at, say, Chicago, for example. It was very celebrated a few years ago. Conservatives looked at Chicago. What about Chicago? And they'll try to project that across the country. But as you point out, it really is very much specific to. You have to look at each individual city. But also, there is a great difference between rural areas and urban areas, too, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious about something. CrimeGrade.org rates Houston, gives it a D+ in rating in terms of crime, which we know is not a great grade overall. Looking at things like violent crime, property crime, and other crimes. Given that data and the data you're seeing, how, as an average Houstonian, average citizen, do we take that kind of information and say, how do I keep myself safe?
Well, I think that...
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You go ahead, Jay. You go ahead.
No. I took the last question. You take this one.
Go ahead, Beth.
Okay. I think that there's something that's really important to remember whenever we talk about crime, and that's that it sells, okay? And I'm not coming at present company that work in media, but headlining stories about things that are scary are things that keep readers engaged. And so it's really important to take a step back and to look at that and to look at it in a way that you're thinking critically. So, for example, homicide rates are something that oftentimes experts point to, right? They say, oh, the homicide rate increased. And we certainly don't want to see we don't want to see a homicide rate at all. I mean, I think we can all agree we'd like to see a 0 homicide rate. But when we're looking at that, there's other factors at play. If most of those homicides, for example, are things like that are happening domestically in a home, that, to me, as an outside expert, is more of an indication of a mental health crisis or maybe a local community suffering financially. And I'm not justifying, because a household situation becomes stressful, that it should then escalate to homicide. But that's what we start to see, right? So even when we talk just about homicide crime, are we talking about unknown perpetrators with unknown victims, or are we talking about things that are happening amongst people who know each other, or amongst people who may be acquaintances but are engaged in criminal activity, right? People, for example, selling drugs or robbing a bank. And again, I'd like to see a homicide rate of 0, but those are important things to think about when you're talking about, like, how safe are we? How safe is the average person walking in Houston, right?
You know, our number of homicides in Houston peaked in 1981 at 701, and last year it was less than 322, dramatically lower. And many factors played into that. I talked to an old homicide cop who told me that it may have something to do with emergency medical services, that a lot of people previously who would have died are saved by our EMTs. That's interesting point.
Yeah. Well, and what, 1981, so we have 3 times the population and half the rate. We'd have a call, and if you'd like to call us, 713-440-8870. I have Jim on the line from West Houston. Jim, welcome to Hello Houston. What's on your mind?
Okay, thank you for getting me in. I just wanted to say it seems like the crime rate's higher, when it depends on the well-being of the society, the community. A lot of racial crime is high because of that, and I think that's the turnaround. People are feeling better about themselves. People are opening the door for each other. People are talking, and it's very good because it's like they're not superior to one person or another who might have less money. This is important in this society, and we have a problem with the rich because the elitists want to stay elitist, like Trump. They don't care, what you think or what is really fair. But I think society does in general, and I think that's a big factor. You have counties in Texas that have practically no black people, but their crime rate is really high. And so it's kind of crazy.
Okay.
But I think in general we got to keep working on taking care of each other.
Good advice, Jim. We have Denise on YouTube who commented, and Denise Ehrlich is a good friend of ours, helped found the Women of Wine Charities, which supports the Houston Area Women's Center. Denise says, unfortunately, domestic violence is stubbornly persistent. That is true. It is underreported oftentimes, and it is a cycle of violence. That
such a conundrum. If the breadwinner is the one committing the crime, it's hard for the victim to send that person away.
Jay Coons, I wonder, you were a police officer. I beg your pardon, a sheriff's deputy or with the sheriff's office. HPD? I beg your pardon. Okay. But you were on the streets. What do you make of what our last caller talked about? Did you were out there for like 36 years. Did you see that communities that seemed to be more cohesive had less crime, or is that just a canard?
No, communities in which people know each other, they have relationships with each other. Marcus Felsen addressed that instrumental crime takes three things: a motivated offender, a valuable target, and lack of capable guardians. And what happens when people in a neighborhood know each other, they know which car belongs in which driveway. They know who lives there and who doesn't. And it doesn't necessarily, certainly the police are capable guardians, but the people in a neighborhood who take the time to get to know each other can also act as guardians as well, because they're the ones that have the nitty gritty detail about that community, and they're the ones in turn that can call the police.
So when we first started this conversation, Doug mentioned that places like Meyerland are seeing troubling increases in crime. What's going on in Meyerland?
The first thing you'd have to do is aggregate the data to figure out what type of crime is happening, what's increasing, what's decreasing, compare that around that area and then to other areas just as an analog, and try to isolate precisely what's going on. Saying crime is going up, well, are we talking about speeding? Are we talking about capital murder? Are we talking someplace in between? So the first thing we need to do is nail down the data and figure out what is happening, when it's happening, where it's happening. Also, too, have new procedures been tried in other areas of the city, let's say, that are having a very successful impact there that maybe haven't been transferred over to Meyerland yet. So there's a lot of variables there that need to be looked at.
Beth Gilmore, you were about to make a point there.
I just think too, that there's so much to think about in terms of community context. So I actually do some analyses out in Fort Bend County for the district attorney, Mr. Middleton, and he was trying to really understand this. What's going on in all these different areas? And it's a different county, okay, but I will tell you that things like, for example, new businesses, new apartment complexes, events that draw large crowds. Oftentimes, population in an area is not a true measure of how many people are in that area at one time. So, for example, you may have a large influx because you have a lot more commercial properties in a specific area, and offenders might recognize that that's actually a really good place to attempt to perpetrate a robbery or things like that because there's a lot of freeways in a specific location, for example, right, which then may increase, lead to a spike. And when we're looking at a rate, what's often done is it's the rate that's calculated by the census versus the rate of reported crimes to that police department. But oftentimes, if, for example, if there's an event, so think of Houston, if there's an Astros game, how many more people are walking right around Minute Maid because there's an Astros game, right? So all of these various factors need to be taken into account when you're looking at spikes and even when you're looking at decreases. Another quick thing I wanted to say just very briefly about the mention of domestic violence. I completely agree with your earlier commenter about domestic violence being, a crime that we're seeing increases in and also something that's very concerning. But related to crime rate, I think about 10 years ago now, and Jay will know this number better than I will, but Texas legislation passed a law, for example, that strangulation became a felony offense. Strangulation is often something that we see occur amongst domestic violence victims. The perpetrator will strangle their partner to gain control, to incite fear, and it's a terrifying experience because your air's cut off. Well, it's a felony now. So when that became a felony, all of a sudden, huge spike in felony arrests related to domestic violence. The incidents were occurring. The legislation changed to protect victims. See what I'm saying? So all these things have factors.
Have either of you been aware of what Ring cameras have done to decrease crime? I'm sure porch pirates have probably decreased, but there's so many cameras out there, not just Ring, but it seems like there are cameras everywhere now. Do you think that has had an effect on people thinking twice before committing a crime?
What do you think, Jay Coons?
Oh, absolutely. The murder of Clint Greenwood a few years ago was solved by going from camera to camera to camera. And we had the suspects' mode of travel, where they went. That's how that crime was solved. They're very helpful on crime scenes these days. That's one of the first things that officers ask for, or they look for, is the different Ring cameras, the different cameras on, stop and robs or other businesses.
Yeah, well, solving crime, certainly. I just wonder if Ring cameras are in the mind of a criminal.
Do they discourage crime?
To discourage it and say, you know what, I was going to make this happen, but not now. I'll probably get caught. Like even just stealing cars.
Yeah, you got to wonder about that, because it's one of those things that you wonder if anyone is somebody in the burglary and theft division asking burglars, hey, what would it take to get you to not do this crime anymore?
Not do this.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. I don't think it's a deterrent effect. I don't know. This is just my experience from working with individuals that are justice involved, is that oftentimes they have no perception of that they're going to get caught, particularly if they're in the younger age demographic, which most of our offenders are. There's not a lot of forward thinking. I will tell you, though, no offense to anyone listening. It's just something we see with youthful offenders, right? They don't think it through. But I will tell you this. I do think that cameras increase individuals' desire to report crime, because they feel like they have evidence that they can give to an officer, right? So
That's
they
a
can
good
say,
point.
oh, I have this, right? So I'm much more likely to call. I mean, think of it. 10 years ago, a package goes missing off your porch, and you were gone all day at work. It went missing between the hours of 8 and 5, and you have no idea who took it. But if you have a car, and your neighbors have footage, and maybe you feel there's a higher inclination then for individuals to report. So that can also, and then that drives the rate up, because more crime is being reported.
So
more evidence.
when we see rising crime rates, our political leadership and our public discussion often defaults to a common solution. Let's put more cops on the streets. Is there any sort of provable correlation between putting more uniforms and more patrol cars on the street and lowering crime rates? Jay Coons, what do you think?
Hotspot policing is very effective, and it stems from problem-oriented policing. And you basically locate the hotspots, what's going on there. You develop an operation to address that issue. You go in and you address it, then you assess. The thing is policing isn't just men and women in black and whites as much as it is. There's a whole chain there. You need investigators, you need crime analysts, you need forensic techs. So when we're talking about putting more cops on the street, well, I'd say that's a good idea. We also need to specialize those officers, but we need to look at the logistics behind the officers in the black and whites.
All right.
To make sure that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, running out of time. So quick from both of you. National Guard in the city of Houston. Good idea or bad idea?
Beth, you go ahead.
Jay is laughing.
I hate to even, I don't like when crime ever gets politicized, because I feel like what happens is your people get lost. But I think that's very situational. To answer that question.
Jay?
That's a good answer.
Yeah, situational. There are times they're needed. There are times that they're not.
Well, thank y'all both for being here. We really appreciate it. Dr. Beth Gilmore from the University of Houston and Jay Coons, clinical assistant professor at Sam Houston State University. Have a great day.
Yeah, stay with us.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Stay with us. Hello Houston continues.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from the Holdsworth Center, taking nominations to honor teachers in the Houston area to re-energize at a wellness retreat in the Texas Hill Country. Nomination information at teacherretreat.org.
Support comes from LaPorte CPAs and Business Advisors, an independent accounting and business advisory firm serving clients for more than 75 years, with 190 employees across offices in Houston, New Orleans, and other locations. More information at laporte.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Theater Under the Stars, offering a season of musicals at the Hobby Center, including new productions of the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee and $1 Million Quartet. Tickets and subscription details at tuts.org.
Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
This afternoon, a 30% chance for showers and thunderstorms, mainly after 3 p.m. Otherwise sunny today with our high getting up to near 95. A chance of thunderstorms this evening, a low 78. Currently, it's 89. This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, we'll dive into today's top headlines, including Southwest Airlines' new seating policy requiring travelers who can't fit in a standard seat to pay for an extra one. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm guest host Chau Nguyen. We'll also speak with Dave Vance and Janine Cloud of FamilyTreeDNA, who will talk to us about some of the most amazing things happening in DNA research.
And I'm guest host Doug Miller. Energy expert Sam Luna will explain why utility plans are offering unusually cheap electricity during a hot summer.
If you would like to join the conversation, do give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870, or you can email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on YouTube. Just go to houstonpublicmedia.org and click that big orange banner.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. A federal judge has thrown out President Trump's lawsuit against Maryland's 15 federal judges over an order to block the immediate deportation of migrants who are challenging their removals. The judges rooted their position in constitutional tradition, and U.S. District Judge Thomas Cullen concurred in deciding to toss Trump's suit. Cullen was a Trump nominee in 2020. The debate over due process for migrants, whatever their status, intensified earlier this year when Kilmar Abrego Garcia was wrongfully deported from Maryland to his home country of El Salvador. Now charged with human smuggling, Abrego Garcia is facing the threat of being deported to Uganda. The governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, is warning President Trump against sending National Guard troops to his state. He and others say it's not needed and would be illegal. During a meeting with his cabinet a short time ago, President Trump pushed back.
So the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime. And you would think that Illinois would have such a problem with crime, such a bad governor. He should be calling me, and he should be saying, could you send over the troops, please? It's out of control.
At President Trump's orders, hundreds of National Guard members from multiple states are deployed on the streets of Washington, D.C. He says it is to fight a surge in crime. But like other major cities, D.C. says the statistics show overall violent crime in its city has actually fallen significantly. The Department of Transportation is threatening to withhold millions of dollars in federal funding from 3 western states. NPR's Joel Rose reports the Trump administration accuses those states of failing to enforce English language requirements for truckers.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says California, Washington, and New Mexico could lose tens of millions of dollars in federal funding unless they adopt and enforce English language proficiency requirements for commercial drivers. DOT accuses those states of failing to disqualify drivers if they can't demonstrate English proficiency. The move comes after a deadly crash in Florida earlier this month involving a driver who made an illegal U-turn on a highway. Federal officials say the driver, who was born in India, was in the U.S. illegally, though California officials say he had a work permit. Duffy says California, Washington, and New Mexico have 30 days to comply. Joel Rose, NPR News, Washington.
The president says he's firing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. A Trump appointee has accused her of engaging in mortgage fraud. It is unclear if the president has the authority to fire Cook. She maintains he does not, and she has vowed to fight her dismissal. The Dow is down slightly, 3 points. The S&P's gained 6 points, and the Nasdaq is up slightly. This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. The Harris County Commissioners Court is set to discuss a looming budget deficit today. And while commissioners say they found ways to balance the budget without cutting essential services, Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo says that's not possible.
The popular thing for me to do right now would be to join my colleagues who are
popping champagne and saying they reduced the deficit without cutting services, but I can't do that with a clean conscience. So I'm here to give the community a reality check.
Commissioners say they are looking at a budget deficit of at least $48 million, while Hidalgo says the deficit appears to reach up to $220 million. A final vote on the county budget will take place next month. 2 Katy ISD students are working to make tools such as electronics, camping gear, and lawn equipment more accessible to their communities. News 88.7's Natalie Weber tells us more about the Library of Things they're launching in Fort Bend County.
This was one of the donations we had sorted out originally last time we came here.
Roughly 200 items, ranging from board games to sleeping bags, are tucked away in the basement of the George Memorial Library in Richmond. Soon, patrons will be able to check out these items from the library. Kyle Nguyen and Rashawn Himrajani are seniors at Jordan High School. They wanted to find a way to make the community more sustainable and give residents access to more tools. So they pitched their idea to the library's executive director and were pleasantly surprised when he replied. This is Hemrajani speaking.
This was a shot in the dark at helping to better our community, and I'm honestly really excited and happy.
Items can be donated at any of the county's library branches. From the Fort Bend County Bureau, I'm Natalie Weber, News 88.7.
SpaceX had to scrub another launch last night from South Texas. Bad weather is to blame this time. It was the second day in a row SpaceX halted the launch of the Starship rocket. On Monday, it was because of ground systems issues. Another attempt might be made this evening. It's currently 91 degrees here on the UH campus, high today near 94. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Charles Schwab, offering investors choices like full-service wealth management, advice, investing, and trading on Thinkorswim. Learn more at schwab.com. And from the Doris Duke Foundation.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
We're back. Hello Houston on a Tuesday. Not here Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. We're doing a lot of work in the studio, and they need us out of here for 3 days. So we're going to run some best of show.
Yeah, nice little Labor Day break then.
Yeah, it is. And it's the end of summer, and things are going to really rev up after Labor Day, as they often do.
But the question is, will they cool off?
Eventually. It's always the answer.
You keep promising that.
So it seems a little early, but do you have any Labor Day plans?
I think Jay and I are going to skip out of town maybe for a few days.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Wine country.
Oh, come on. Really?
We got to get away from this heat.
Oh, man. Napa or Sonoma?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow. Now, when you do that, do you fly into Sacramento or San Francisco?
You know, my old boss, we're having dinner with him. He wanted us to fly into Sacramento, but I think we're going to fly into San Francisco because, why not, right?
Right. The traffic tends to be pretty ferocious out of San Francisco.
Yeah, but the views are nice.
The views are beautiful.
Yeah. They've got fires out there now, though, in Napa.
They have had some fires right now.
Yeah,
I think
Healdsburg.
Okay. Yeah,
I love Healdsburg. It's nice. So,
Doug, you going nowhere?
Oh, I'm going to be doing laundry this week.
Yeah, me too. We're moving. So,
oh, that's right. Yeah.
So we've got the Packers are there today, and then we move tomorrow and unpack, and you know how that goes.
Yeah,
it's
you're
awful.
going to need it.
I'd rather eat glass, but there you have it.
Yeah.
But then once you're all moved in, it's paradise, right?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
We'll get
Pop
there
that
eventually.
bottle of champagne and say hello to my new home.
Yeah, I'll even take Prosecco at this point.
Yeah, but there's a big thing now. You're supposed to take a picture of yourself with pizza in your new home. There was an article in the New York Times about this yesterday.
I was going to say, Doug, are you watching TikTok or something?
Honestly, no, I'm not, because
challenge?
you're supposed to take a picture of a pizza box, and that says
funny.
I've moved into my new house somehow. So
That's
don't ask
crazy.
me. But, hey. It was in the New York Times. It's got to be, out there.
Okay, a few showers still along the coast. Temperatures in the mid-90s. Really, the weather forecast just isn't changing much. We still have some chance. It's really humid today, so I think that we have a little better chance of a shower or two as opposed to yesterday when it was pretty quiet. I'm really excited about this next hour coming up. Around 12:25, 12:30, we're going to talk to some folks from FamilyTreeDNA, which was a big instrument in my ability to find my biological family. I wrote a book about it a while back. But they're here to talk about all of the amazing things going on with DNA. Everyone's heard of Ancestry and 23andMe. But FamilyTreeDNA is right here in Houston.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and they do the same kind of work. In fact, they do even more in a lot of respects. So we're going to hear from those folks there.
And trace your lineage.
In the meantime, this next story, I think we'll get some calls, 713-440-8870. I want to hear what our folks think.
Well, who doesn't love Southwest Airlines? They've got some new rules coming up. Southwest Airlines will soon require travelers who cannot fit within the armrests of their seat to pay for an extra one in advance. This is part of a string of recent changes the carrier is making. Now, this new rule goes into effect January 27th. That is the same day Southwest starts assigning seats. That's a big change. Now, currently, if you're a plus-size passenger, you can either pay for an extra seat in advance with the option of getting the money back later, or you can request a free extra seat at the airport. Now, under Southwest Airlines' new policy, a refund is still possible, but it's no longer guaranteed. This marking the latest change at Southwest Airlines. It's long been known for letting passengers pick their own seats after boarding a plane, letting people fly their bags for free, all of this ending in May. So, anybody in favor of these new policies? We've got a lot of Southwest Airline travelers and flyers here at a hobby. Just call 713-440-8870.
You wouldn't fill a seat. You're so skinny.
No. I feel like a regular economy seat is like a business class seat. So I'm good.
That's good. That's
Southwest Airlines is becoming a very different airline.
Yeah.
It really it seems like the business model is changing dramatically in a lot of ways. Assigned seats, what a big difference.
It's trying to go more to a for-profit airline.
It's made a lot of money over the years. I mean,
I want to continue to. You've got to change.
I owned stock in that airline for a long time ago, and boy, oh boy, they were blowing and going there for a long time, but it slowed down considerably.
And they've had some engine troubles, right? There's some stories of Southwest Airline flights having problems.
One of the nice things about Southwest Airlines is that they fly the 737. And so that when you have pilots that fly that plane, mechanics that work on that plane, flight attendants that know that plane, then that consistency, I think, is smarter and more efficient and maybe even safer because everyone sort of knows what they're doing with that particular plane. That's been one of their big advantages.
Yeah, it sure has.
A lot of people had problems with the 800 and the 900 when they first came out.
Right.
They had to ground some of that. Okay, but more to the point here, if you are a heavy person, you now have to pay for that extra seat if you don't fit within the armrests. And I don't know how big you really have to be to fit within the armrest. And do they have to make this judgment before you get on does someone at the airport say, you know what, sir, I've decided that you are a plus size person and you don't quite fit between the armrests, so you need to buy an extra seat. I don't know how they're going to make this judgment.
Does that cross the line into being discriminatory, right?
Well, it may be a safety issue.
One would assume they investigated that question.
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
I would think it'd be more of a safety issue that someone that, is taking up a whole seat and there's a problem and these two people in the window in the middle can't get out because of a person that's taking up this one seat and is rather large and taking up too much of it.
Chau, you and I, when we were reporters at Channel 11, had a colleague behind the scenes who was morbidly obese, who routinely bought two seats.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
And what's interesting,
some people have already adapted.
If you want to buy two seats, let's say you're spoiled and you're heading from here to New York City, a long flight, or Iceland or whatever, you can't just buy two seats. Yeah, you've got to be a plus-size person to be able to buy the two seats. And if you get to the airport and say, my name is Frank Billingsley and I bought seat 41A and 41B, they'll say, no, you're not heavy enough for that, and they won't let you do that. So I'm not sure why they won't, but European first class, if people don't know, is basically a coach row with nobody in the middle. So you and your partner get the window and the aisle, and there's nobody there in between you, so you get some extra room. That's first class in Europe, in European flying. That's standard. But you can't turn that into first class Southwest, even if you want to. I know. I'm not sure why.
I'm sure this will be spelled out in their policy online.
Yeah.
Well, Denise Ehrlich, speaking of online, our wine goddess that you're a friend of, says is a frequent Southwest flyer, not a fan of the changes. Now, Denise, you didn't say anything about this particular change, because as a frequent Southwest flyer, you know what happens sometimes. You've got an empty seat next to you, and someone who is plus size sits down, and that takes a lot of your elbow room and your shoulder room and perhaps your fanny room. So what do you think about that particular part of this?
Well, Denise followed up on our YouTube channel by speaking of elbow room, saying, can we charge the people who man spread or stick their elbows beyond their armrest width?
I feel like police it. I don't know how you police it.
People do that to me all the time because I'm so little.
Dark One says, I have heard stories of people buying the extra seat only to be denied it because it's full up. That's right.
That's what you were saying.
I don't know why I can't buy and pay for and reserve 2 seats.
Another commenter on our YouTube channel, Fritz Goldman, saying, I've always disliked the cattle car of boarding on Southwest, so assigned seating is wonderful. He says American Airlines is doing it well with enforcement of boarding groups. The whole cattle car aspect of it has kind of annoyed me, too. I liked it when I was in college because it was cheaper, but frankly, not anymore.
Well, I mean, even United Airlines, you're group boarding, right? You're 1 through 5.
Let me say something about that, because United Airlines, I was coming back from Newark, from New York, right? And it was a big plane we were getting on to, and it was our anniversary. We'd upgraded to first class, so we're in the group 1, right?
Whoop-de-doo.
I know, we're special. So we're in group 1. I counted them. I think 68 people boarded before we did because of all the pre-boards
global
and
services,
1K. Everybody's more important than first-class passengers.
No, it's not more important. They paid more.
I don't know they didn't. Maybe over the long haul they did to get global services. But
if you know somebody at the airline, who knows?
Well, if you have something to say about this, 713-440 8870.
Well, Dark One said on YouTube, he said, back in the day, I used to make mooing sounds while boarding.
Bye-bye.
Scary.
All right, Astros fans, how about this one? Have you heard that President Trump, now he might like to think he has all the power in the world, but he does not have the power to put Roger Clemens in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. It is a privilege reserved for journalists, for baseball executives, and other members of the Hall of Fame. Well, over the weekend, Trump played golf with Roger Clemens, and after playing with the Rocket, he took to social media making his case for why Roger Clemens should be admitted to the Hall of Fame. Now, the deal, if you're not aware of this, Clemens, he had a great career, of course, outstanding career. In fact, one time he was rated as the best pitcher in the history of baseball. It was marred, though, by suspicions of performance-enhancing drug use. And as a consequence of that, it is believed the sports writers have not admitted him into the Hall of Fame. If you're new to the Houston area, you need to understand that Roger Clemens grew up in Houston. He spent part of his 24-year career with the Houston Astros, and it was a sight to see this guy play baseball. He was incredible. But he never got the required 75% of the vote during the 10 years that he was eligible to be selected for the Hall of Fame. You've got a 10-year period after you quit playing, and 75% of the voters in this group the Baseball Writers Association of America, have to agree that you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And the only other way the former players can get in is to be picked by a 16-person committee of veteran media members and MLB executives and Hall of Fame members. So it's kind of a little bit of a convoluted process. But President Trump, after playing golf with Roger Clemens, says he ought to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know, do you keep that? There was only suspicions of use of performance-enhancing drugs, which, if I recall correctly, were legal. The certain drugs that he was accused of using, I believe. It's been a while since I covered some of that.
That's
story.
kind of the point. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I mean, we still care about this. I mean,
hey, come on.
But I
I'm
think
an
the guy
Astros
deserves
fan.
to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean,
Because
it was
why?
really fun to watch.
Well,
and
he was he was phenomenal. He was a phenomenal. He may have been the greatest.
Well, he brought
pitcher of
fame
all
to the
time.
game, right?
Yeah, fame and perhaps some infamy. Yeah.
Well, and on two levels. Not only can we debate whether Roger Clemens should get into the Hall of Fame, but does the President of the United States have nothing better to do than start making these proclamations?
Well,
I liked him. I think
better,
he should be in the Hall of Fame. Let's
yeah,
give it to him.
Better that than answering another question about the Epstein files. Huh? So, hey.
Well, I know anything but that.
Yeah.
Anything but that. And now her whole testimony, so to speak, that's come out has said, "Oh no, he never did anything inappropriate." On and on and on.
Well, if anyone has any thoughts on Roger Clemens getting in the Hall of Fame or Ghislaine Maxwell getting in the Hall of Fame, whatever, give us a call at 713-440-8870.
Well, we are still getting all of these remarks on the Southwest Airlines saying used to be an A-list with Southwest Airlines. Not the changes they're saying are not customer friendly. So. There you go. All right, let's go to this Cracker Barrel story. I haven't been to a Cracker Barrel in 25 years.
Yeah.
As I remember, it was pretty good. They have like a buffet.
Yeah, it's all right.
I just don't really go there.
Breakfast kind of food, right?
You're what?
Breakfast kind of food.
Yeah. But it's been a while. I know that they have a charging station for your electric vehicle at the Cracker Barrel on the way to Galveston.
Okay.
I don't know why I know that, but they do. So anyway, they're at odds with their fans. They removed the Uncle Herschel guy from the logo. Apparently Uncle Herschel was right there. They unveiled a revamped text-only design. It sparked all kinds of backlash and stock prices going down a bit. The 1969 logo was also text-only, but the 1977 edition of the now iconic imagery became a staple of its branding. So Uncle Herschel was sitting there, and now he's no longer sitting there. I'm not sure why. Fans worry that the rebranding is a symbol of larger cultural changes at the company, but their CEO is downplaying it. Julie Massino said in an interview on Good Morning America that the feedback she got was overwhelmingly positive. She also shared that managers of several locations were asking for a remodel, adding that the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. That's fairly typical CEO speak when things aren't going as well as you'd like. The fallout from Cracker Barrel's logo change and restaurant makeover isn't over. Shares of the food chain plunged last Thursday as customer backlash and investor unease drove the chain's worst losing streak in months. Tumbled 12% on Thursday. So before ending the session, it was down 7%. That took $90 million away from their market value. So you have any thoughts on this change to the Cracker Barrel logo? 713-440-8870. We do have a caller from Aaron who wants to revert back to the Roger Clemens subject. He's from Spring Branch. Aaron, what are your thoughts on Roger Clemens? And welcome to Hello Houston.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, I think he should be inducted. I mean, at the end of the day, it was just allegations. And, I mean, you're not going to condone what he did if everybody was doing it, but at the end of the day, it was just allegations. And he took the Stros to the first World Series, so at least for that.
So he brought fame to the game, and nothing was proven, so let him in.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron, before you go, let me ask you this. What do you think is going to happen whenever some of the players from the 2017 Astros retire and are up for the Hall of Fame? Will the writers count the fact that they were against or on that team against them? Will that count against, say, Jose Altuve?
I was listening to the radio. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So the 2017 think about the 2017 Astros when they retire. Talking about like George Springer, Jose Altuve,
Bagwell, all those guys. Yes.
No, just talking about the guys on the 2017 team involved in the scandal.
Gotcha.
The sign seat. Do you think they're going to have trouble getting into the Hall of Fame because of that?
I probably, and only because people like to clean their hands, but I think they should. Because, again, allegations, accusations, and unless you can prove it, I think they should.
Well, they were proven. They admitted it.
A little different.
They admitted it.
They did admit it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed that point.
Yeah, so we had players from the 2017 team. I kind of wonder about them, Frank. Chau, I really do.
Yeah.
Which is too bad because everything I've heard and read is that Jose Altuve really didn't play along with that. But I'm worried that it might affect his.
And to your point,
chances.
Denise Ehrlich, again, the wine goddess says if you let Clemens in, you have to consider all of the other players from the steroid era.
But no player matches Clemens from that era, right?
I'd say so in terms of pitching, certainly. Yeah.
We have another call on the line. I do want to get in here that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged. I verified that.
All the Swifties are all celebrating right now.
I know. Finally, put a ring.
Okay, I got to leave.
If you want it, then you better put a
Thanks, folks.
ring
Drop
on
the
it.
mic. Let's go. Come on.
Okay, Alvin, give us quickly, Alvin. We're running out of time. What you got?
I would say that speaking on behalf of the black delegation, the Cracker Barrel is fine. They don't need to change anything. Nobody is looking for them. I have no idea where this story came from.
They lost $90 million in a day.
Okay, Alvin.
I don't know why.
I don't know why. Okay, we've got some good stuff coming up. Chau, take us out of this.
All right, well, coming up on Hello Houston, Janine Cloud, Group's project manager and event coordinator at FamilyTreeDNA, right here in Houston, is going to talk to us about some amazing things happening in DNA research. Stick around. This is News 88.7 Hello Houston.
Federal funding for public media has been cut. In response, we're creating Houston Public Media's Resiliency Fund. Donations made toward the fund will directly counter the loss of the $2.2 million in federal funds that were cut annually and strengthen our station's foundation to provide our services into the future. Contributing to this fund is easy and quick and makes all the difference to our station. Help build the Resiliency Fund now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Immigration attorneys find themselves with heavy caseloads and constantly changing policies and laws.
For a lot of these immigration attorneys, which again, we don't have that many of, people are facing burnout, anxiety, and they're dealing with a system that is much less friendly than it has been for years.
The tricky business of immigration law, that's next time on Think.
It's coming up tonight at 10 o'clock.
Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Houston Public Media, in partnership with Texas Southern University, brings to you The Vibe, R&B, hip-hop, and neo-soul, music that resonates with all ages. The Vibe on 88.7 HD3 and on the Houston Public Media app.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from DeCamara. The 25-26 season features a Schubert Perspectives series, jazz with Branford Marsalis and Pat Metheny, and much more. Information and tickets at decamara.com.
Support comes from Pearland, Texas, offering new construction with custom options and amenities, mature neighborhoods filled with trees, and urban living. Details at pearlandedc.com/inspiration. Pearland, inspiration lives here.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Frank Billingsley with Chau Nguyen and Doug Miller.
All right, genealogy has become a favorite American hobby, and genetic genealogy is now a huge branch of that. An estimated 130 million Americans have submitted their DNA to be analyzed with the aim of tracking down biological family members or finding out just where they came from or perhaps learning more about your health. Occasionally, such testing has even led to solving cold case murders. So, while most of us have heard of Ancestry and 23andMe, we have here in Houston FamilyTreeDNA, right there on the Northwest Freeway, boasting a database of over 2 million users. A big part of FTDNA is their ability to test a male's Y DNA. Females have two X chromosomes, right? One from mom, one from dad. While men have an X chromosome from mom and a Y from dad. And that Y has been passed from father to son, father to son, father to son, ever since Adam, presumably, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, this is the Maury Povich, you are the baby's daddy, right? That Y chromosome. It's very paternal. So, joining us on Hello Houston to explain more about the mysteries of our past is Dave Vance, Senior Vice President, General Manager of FamilyTreeDNA, and a lifelong genealogist. Also, Janine Cloud is here. She manages the FamilyTreeDNA Group Projects team. As it happens, my second great-grandfather was the brother of Janine's third great-grandmother. I think I have that right. That means we're cousins. Somehow, Janine, we're cousins.
I think we're fifth cousins. Our fourth we share fourth great-grandparents.
Yeah, it was a while back. I looked at my tree last night to figure out that Hensley connection.
Hold on, let me get a white marker board here and try to figure this out. Yeah.
It gets that way. That's why it's nice to have experts in the field, that's for sure. If you have any DNA questions, 713-440-8870. So, Dave, where are we on this? It's a huge, it can ruin Thanksgiving.
Of course, yeah, if you find out surprises. And that happens. That does happen. You find out things about your ancestors that you didn't know because the stories weren't kept or weren't remembered, right? So, and it's also, you talk about fourth and fifth cousins. It is pushing the envelope on the definition of family, just because you find out that you have relations. We have people that are related to each other back in the early Middle Ages. Is that a family member or not? Well, that depends on the two people, right? So, yeah, it is kind of exciting how you find connections between different groups and to ancient cultures and things that you never knew you had.
I know that when I was doing my search, it was like kudzu out there to finally, and we call it colonial soup because a lot of us do go back. But then weirdly, I'm actually related to my stepson. We're cousins, but, it goes back, like you say, 4 or 5 generations. And I'm also weirdly related to my father who adopted me, who's a Billingsley. Again, it goes back, but it's there. Do you think that we would be nicer to each other if everyone tested their DNA and found out we're all related?
That is something else that we find out we're a lot closer related to people that we think of as different than we knew that. That is a big part of what genetic genealogy finds out about people too.
Dave, Jean, while we have you here, I'm curious about something. As an immigrant from the other side of the world, I've never pursued anything like a 23andMe and Ancestry because I think, well, what are they going to find? My family's on the other side of the world. Do you see that happening with those who are not from the United States or don't have roots here?
We do, and that goes back all the way back to the people who came here early on, like the Irish that came in the 17 and 1800s. They're still searching for their roots and so on. So it's not just recent immigrants, but that can happen as well. One of the things we're finding when people don't know where the origins of their ancestors, if they test, especially the either Y DNA or the mitochondrial DNA that can go back that far, they actually find out that they're connected to people who do know their origins, and so they can find out the country of origin by the fact that they're closely related to other people who knew where they came from. So it is connecting people even when you don't have the names of your ancestors.
Janine, really you've had a long journey with trying to connect your tree to Native Americans.
Well, actually, not really. The Native American connection is very clear. That's paper trail. It's simply the non-Native American that was it's a little more difficult. I would like to address what she said, though. FamilyTreeDNA tests literally around the globe. Mm. We do have over 180 countries represented in the database, some of them more than others. And then there are groups who study people from certain places. Like we have one that works with the babies from Operation Baby Lift from Vietnam, some from Cambodia, that look for specific things like that. But the people that they test fill out the database for those who aren't in that category, and they can find those relatives. Yeah, a lot of people assume that Cloud is a Native American name, but it's not. It's actually from England, and I've tried to get past my second great grandfather in Georgia, 1838, and haven't been able to do it successfully. And everybody's trying to connect to this one particular immigrant ancestor who came over in the late 1600s to the Pennsylvania with the Quakers. And I tried and then got big Y testing, which is a Y DNA test that is very specific, and discovered that the reason why I couldn't is because my line connects above him. We don't descend through him. It's from one of his ancestors around 1500. So I could have spent the rest of my life trying to connect to that man and never been able to do it successfully. So yeah.
You've got samples from all over the world. Do you discover, though, that in some cultures people are perhaps more reluctant to offer up samples to discover their origins?
There are, and some of it is because many of them have their own genealogies. Like in China, they have, scrolls of genealogy, and they don't particularly care to have more, although that is changing. And there are other populations that are very similar. But populations who've been marginalized and persecuted can be, like Native Americans have some significant Native American reference populations to be able to compare tribe by tribe, because it's like, we think we're not going to do that because, you're from the government and you're here to help us, right?
There's suspicion. It is simply suspicion of authority that this will be used against us in some way.
Yeah, that's one thing. There's also the notion that because a lot of cultures have their own stories and legends of their origins or how they started as a people or whatever, and science can sometimes challenge that, right? It can say, well, it looks to me from your DNA that it looks a little bit different. And you don't want to challenge people's beliefs, but yet you want to help them find connections and things through their DNA. So that can be a little bit of a juggling act, too, sometimes. So
if someone submits their DNA, there's been some concern about data breach with some of the companies. What do you do to make sure that it's safe with you?
That's a longer thing than we have time for. But there's a lot of data security that goes into genetic testing, obviously, because it's also personal data, and we handle it in ways that make sure that your data stays secure and that it is only shared with people that you want to. So there's a lot of opt-in flags when you get your account that say what you want done with your DNA and who you want to share it with.
So if you don't want to share it with the FBI or the police who might be looking for connections to some serial murderer, you can say no. Don't
that is
share
one
it.
of our flags.
Because wasn't that happening?
It happened for the Golden Gate Killer. The serial killer.
The Golden State Killer. Yeah.
Golden State, yes.
That's an option that you get to set as to whether or not you want your data to participate in that. Yes.
So what's the goal? What is your goal as a company to do for people?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why people test, and we want to encourage them to explore all of that, right? There's genealogy, there's identity, there's all kinds of things people want to know about their past, and so we help encourage that. So we're trying to do that and juggle the privacy, because obviously some of finding your identity is collaborating with other people that connect to you. So there's a lot of balance between connection versus privacy that we have to do, and a lot of that is through the opt-in flags I'm talking about. Some of it are actually limits that we set that say you can explore this much, and if you want to know more, you're going to have to contact those people directly and get permission, and things like that we do to try to make sure that works.
Janine, do you have any particular story that's like the biggest surprise? You've been doing this for a long time. What's the biggest surprise you've run into, other than being my cousin?
That was a really fun one. Discovering that the person that I said is my guy for weather because of his prediction of where Rita went, discovered years later that we're actually related. I would say probably the biggest story that I know of, other than connecting parents and things like that, was we did some work on Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates.
Yeah, that's a PBS show.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And LL Cool J was on there, and CeCe Moore, who's gone on to do other great things, was working with him and discovered that he was actually adopted. I mean,
and he didn't know that?
That his mother was adopted. I'm sorry, his mother was adopted, and she didn't know it. His grandparents were dead. They had never told anybody that she was adopted, and so they didn't look for a record because they didn't know there was going to be one. So it was not an unrecorded adoption. It was recorded, and they were able to find her birth mother, and he was able to have even more respect for his grandparents because they treated him as if he were their blood, that they didn't know any different, that they were,
Wow.
them. So
I want to talk about the Y-DNA a little bit because, and to explain it to our listeners, if you test your Y-DNA, if you're a man, and a woman could get their brother, uncle or father to do. So if you test your Y-DNA, you're adopted, so you're a Billingsley, and you're looking for what names do you match out there, because if you match a lot of Smiths, you're likely from a Smith. As it turns out, I was from a Hensley, and that's exactly where it went to. But a lot of people will do the Y-DNA, some, and their last name is Smith, and they're looking to see all the Smiths, and they see all these Joneses. And it's like Grandma stepped out on Grandpa Smith, or maybe there was a malaria incident, and there was an adoption, and then they changed the name of the kid. There's a lot of surprise.
There's a lot involved in matching surnames, because surnames are a fairly recent occurrence. It's like only a couple hundred years ago. So it can be anything from they just pick different surnames to if you have a culture that has patronymics like Wales, in the Nordic countries, it's like Reese Ap Davies, and then Davies Ap whatever. And so it changes every generation, and it just depends on when they froze that surname as to what surname it's going to be. So you could have descendants of the same father with Williams and Jones, two very common surnames, but those are really common in the Welsh culture. So whenever you see somebody with those certain patterns of surnames, it gives you a clue. My cloud line, there's a big chunk of Johnsons. And I would think, okay, well, that's fairly recent, right? The Y shows that it's from around 1750 or so. So the testing can help guide you as to when it happened. You can't actually prove 100% until you get the data, though.
There's still something to be said for just good old-fashioned research that our great aunts did at the local genealogical library, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the way you find out the names of your ancestors, because they're not written in our DNA, obviously. You find out the connections through DNA, but you have to still know who those people were. And that's all either the records or all the work that was done by the generations that came before us.
Did you read about John Tyler, President John Tyler? President John Tyler from 1841 to 1845. His grandson died last May. His last living grandson, 96 years old. So that kind of longevity in generations, do you see that a lot? That's got to be
Actually, my wife, her grandfather was born in 1865.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people like that have very close connections to what we think of as very far back in the past.
Yeah, I have my great grandfather Hensley was born in 1832 and fought in the Civil War. Now, how many people say my great grandfather fought in the Civil War? I know you'd have to be 65 to be able to say that.
I'm curious about something. We're talking about like sometimes surprises that show up, right, in this DNA analysis. How do families respond emotionally? What do you see? Do you feel like there needs to be counseling support around some of this?
Sometimes there is, and obviously that all depends on the family, as you say. I'll give you an example of a happy surprise. So my daughter is adopted from Guatemala. We brought her home at 7 months old. She came to me as a teenager and said, "Dad, could you put my DNA on file in the databases?" So I did, not expecting much. And I said, don't get your hopes up, but we'll certainly put your data on file. A couple of years, actually, after she tested, someone else tested that turns out to be a full sister that was adopted 2 years before into the U.S. Those adoptive parents actually knew my daughter's biological father's name, which we didn't know. So we found out some new things about her. And we've welcomed her full sister as an extension of our family. So that's kind of a happy surprise.
Yeah.
And we've been able to, and it has changed. I mean, we've traveled a lot more to visit them. They've come to visit us, and we've made this connection now that we treat as an extension of our family. So yes, that happens a lot. And sometimes it's surprises that you didn't expect and that throw you for a loop. But sometimes it actually can be very happy surprises, too.
I got off the couch and did my search because of your press release several years ago that a man at age, I'm going to say 57, had decided to test to see if he could find his biological family. And his biological mother had lived in Houston, 2 blocks away from him, his entire life. But by the time he got to finding her, she had passed. And that's what made me at age 54 say, maybe it's time I start this journey and start looking. So if people out there are thinking, oh, I've got to wait till my parents die before I do this, or I've got to wait. I mean, if you wait too long, the people that can help you are not going to be around, or the people you want to find are not going to be around. So it's something that, like you say, you could put your parameters on it. You don't have to, you can find what you find and not tell anybody.
Right.
So there was one comment saying, about my question that I asked about being nicer to each other. But he follows this up. Hiram Clark follows it up by saying, can we use this measure of compatibility in relationships? Like, say you've met the girl of your dreams, and it's like, honey, let's get our DNA, first of all, to make sure you're not my sister from long ago. That happened in Mississippi, But let's see how compatible we are DNA-wise.
Kind of a funny story that goes along with that. The country of Iceland, they're such a small population and they're relatively isolated. So they actually have a national database of DNA where you can go and compare yourself to another person from Iceland, so that if you are starting to date, you can check whether or not you're so close that you probably shouldn't. That's actually true.
That would ice down the relationship real quick in Iceland, wouldn't it?
You know, I wonder how attitudes toward your profession have changed in recent years. Yes, I can see you rolling your eyes right now, Janine. What right away people think of the Golden State Killer and Cece. What's her name?
Cece Moore.
Cece Moore,
who did not solve that case, by the way.
Right.
It was Barbara Ventnor.
But people are associating what you do now with catching serial killers, right? Do people talk to you about that when you go to a restaurant? Do you tell them what you do? Do they right away say, "You ever caught a serial killer?"
I go to many restaurants, but when I talk about what I do, some people do ask about that, and it's a real concern for many people. But there are just as many people who are like, take my DNA, because if any of my family is doing stuff they shouldn't have been doing, I'm in. So it's kind of both ways on it. It's just a matter of what your personal what your personal thing is. But when I roll my eyes because it's like when I started in 2011 with FamilyTreeDNA, the company started in 2000, so it's 25 years. So it's the first company to bring genetic genealogy direct to consumers with Y-DNA, as a matter of fact. And I've seen attitudes go quite a spectrum, and we do have a lot of people who now it's become so commonplace. At one time, it was like, you're going to do a what? Yeah. You're going to take a what kind of test? Really, DNA? And now, almost any genealogist is going to do a DNA test for people. If they're a professional genealogist, it's just part of the toolbox. It's just very matter of fact. People don't think anything about it. They're like, I'm going to find out what I am. But there are some who are concerned about the law enforcement part of it, but we're really upfront about it. You can go to our website, you can click in the footer and read all about it.
We have to wrap. Someone asked if there was a differentiation between FamilyTreeDNA and the other services. I know the Y-DNA is a big part of it, but yes, you do all of the kind of testing that all the other services do, with maybe the exception of 23andMe's health traits.
Right. We don't do that. We have some health that we've done in the past, but we don't do health traits like 23andMe does. That's true.
But started it from a guy in Bel Air and right here in Houston.
That's quite a success story in an interesting field. Thanks so much for coming to talk to us.
If you're looking for somebody, I say fish in all ponds, including yours. That's
Absolutely.
for sure. Thanks for being here.
Dave Vance, Senior Vice President, General Manager for FamilyTreeDNA. Janine Cloud, the Manager of FamilyTreeDNA's group projects team. Thanks to both of you. Really interesting conversation.
Thank you for having us.
You bet.
Well, coming up, we're going to discuss why your energy prices might be lower this summer. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Hello, I'm Josh Adams, General Manager of Houston Public Media. This station just lost $2.2 million in federal support annually. To keep our station strong, we've launched the Resiliency Fund, powered by community members just like you. Your support will help bridge the funding gap and ensure these programs remain free and accessible to everyone. If public media and this station matter to you, now is the time to act. Support the Resiliency Fund today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Or call 888-909-0887. This summer sees an uptick in COVID-19 cases as the new Stratus variant becomes the dominant one in the U.S. And the leading pediatric medical group breaks with the CDC's vaccine guidance for young children. For our latest installment of In Good Health, we answer your questions on COVID, vaccines, and more. Next time on 1A.
You can hear 1A this afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Support comes from GenPro, a Houston-based home generator service providing power to homes during unexpected outages, helping with connectivity and productivity. More information is available at genpro.com.
Support comes from the Houston Museum of Natural Science, presenting Audubon's Birds of America, showcasing life-size, vibrantly colored renderings of more than 400 American birds, including some now extinct. Closing September 1st. Details and tickets at hmns.org.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from the Hildebrand MBA at UT Austin's Macomb School of Business, offering the Weekend MBA at Houston. Applications open August 2025. Details at texasmba.com. Make it here. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Good Reason Houston, working to ensure every child in every Houston neighborhood has access to a strong public school that prepares them for opportunities and a living wage after graduation. More at goodreasonhouston.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Frank Billingsley with Chau Nguyen and Doug Miller.
Oh, we all hate energy bills, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
I always scour, especially with us moving from our house to high rise. I've been scouring where to get the best deal.
Yeah, we jump from place to place too.
It's not easy. Yeah.
Well, there used to be. We'll ask our next guest about this. There was a company you could sign up with, and every month you'd get whatever the rate was lowest and best from whatever company they found for you. I don't know if that still happens, but
a number of companies still do that. Yeah.
Energy plans are showing some of the lowest kilowatt hour pricing there's been all year, even considering the higher energy prices that tend to occur during summer this time of year. It can be brutal out there. Joining us now to break this down is Sam Luna, Director of Product Marketing for BKV Energy. Sam, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you.
Thanks for bringing your energy to our show.
Happy to.
Help us reduce our energy costs. It's hot.
So what is BKV Energy?
Yep. So we're a fairly new retail energy company. We launched at the end of 2022, focused on fair and simple, transparent pricing. I've been in the energy industry for over 15 years with a number of large competitors, and really just got tired of seeing my friends and neighbors taken advantage of. As you talk about shopping for electricity, it's a pain. You want to switch and look and get the best rate. And it'd be nice if just somebody said, we'll take care of the customer, we're going to give you a fair rate, and do what we can to lower your electricity bill. So we launched BKV Energy on that premise.
Nice. So energy prices have dropped?
Yeah, it's rare. I think last time we talked about this was October of 2024. We saw a dip in the market. Wholesale prices went down because energy traders thought our summer for 2025 was going to be fairly mild. And lo and behold, we've had a lot fewer punishing 100-degree days this year.
Yep.
And we did. We saw a milder summer. We saw rain at the right time, helped keep the geothermal energy low. So we didn't get as hot in Houston. And so right now we're seeing energy traders saying, hey, summer was pretty mild, winter looks pretty mild. And so we're seeing lower prices hit the market, lower than we've seen the last couple of years in a summer month. So in August right now, we're saying, hey, if you are shopping, switch. Do it now. Don't wait.
It really is all about air conditioning, isn't it?
Oh, that is 70% of a Houstonian's energy usage is that AC pumping. And it's not going to change. But with fewer 100-degree days, we saw less usage. So that should result in a lower energy bill.
Sam, most of us keep our air conditioning at a certain temperature. What's the right temperature to be energy efficient yet cool in the home?
Yeah, so I'm first going to speak as a dad, the one that keeps the girls in the house happy. Then I'll speak as trying to control finances.
Yeah.
I think in Houston, if you're somewhere in that 73 to 75 range during the day, comfortable, and you're going to see a moderate energy bill. Okay. If you leave the house, that's when you can make the change. We're all sitting here right now. Nobody's at home. I'm going to guess most of our houses are still cooling. We should have them set to 79, 80. Let that temperature warm up if nobody's there, no kids and no pets, because you're just spending money keeping it there. If you have a programmable thermostat, about an hour and a half before you want to come home, set it to start cooling, so that way when you get there it's cooler. But there's no sense in spending 4 or 5 hours cooling that house.
So can you set the temperature, the thermostat too high in the morning? I used to set mine at like 90 and just let it go as high as I wanted to, and then it'd cool off. And I don't know that I saved any money. Was I kind of wasting my time there?
I'm going to say you were backwards. What you want to do, Doug, is in the morning, pre-cool your home. So while not a lot of people are on the grid, there's reserve capacity, set it to 70, 72. That way, when you leave during the day, your home is going to take longer to warm up to that 78 degrees. So your AC is going to have the afternoon off, which means you get a reduced energy bill.
So I should drop it down to, say, 65 or something in the early morning and let it okay.
Yeah, from 2 to 4 is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you can handle the icy sheets for those couple hours, your electricity bill is going to get a big difference.
So we've had air conditioner now, thanks to Mr. Carrier, for 100 years. I mean, about 1925 is when it came out. Why have we not? I mean, we can fly airplanes and send men to the moon, right? So why have we not been able to tackle this whole air conditioning, energy efficient problem that seems to be there, sort of like is just going to be there forever?
Yeah, it's because we love living in Houston.
Well,
we're not going to get away from the heat, and keeping your home cool throughout the day. It's a challenge between which direction your home faces, window coverings. Do you have animals coming in and out of your house? Are you riding a bike and raising the temp?
Well, and I've heard some of the AC people say, don't change your 20-year-old compressors and all, because just keep them running, because they're more efficient than some of the even newer ones, and at least less expensive to run. True or false?
False. Yeah, with the new with newer efficient units, higher. If you have somebody come out and look at your AC, they're going to say there's a SEER rating, that energy efficiency rating. And it'll come in different numbers, 16 kind of being the lowest, 21 being the highest, most energy efficient. We replaced both of our units this past summer and saw our bill cut in half because it's not running that often. And the newer units have 2 stages. So there's a base phase that'll run low energy, and then it can bump up when it needs that boost and then turn that off. So it's really an efficient machine now.
All right, we have John from Sugarland with a call. John, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question for Sam?
2 questions. What would a layperson like me, what would be the lowest price one should try to, or the lower end of the price range one should think is acceptable? And the other question is, what can we...
Oh, we lost him.
Yeah, well, I'll go ahead and take a stab at the first part of his question. So right now on the energy market, for your energy rate, the part you pay for the electricity, you can see anything between 7 and 9 cents. That's not including what you're paying CenterPoint. So just depending on when you're shopping and with even within the month, something between 7 and 9 cents per kilowatt hour would be a fair rate.
Do they still have fuel charges? Years ago, I was paying like $200 a month for a fuel charge, and a company said, you shouldn't be paying that. And so I switched to that company, and sure enough, I didn't pay it anymore.
Yeah, so there's different plans for different companies. If you see the words fuel charge, base charge, usage charge, those are all added charges coming from a retailer. You can expect to see a CenterPoint pass-through rate to help them maintain the power lines around the home. But any of those additional fees or gimmicks, definitely look out for on your electricity fax label.
Wow. That was from a very popular power company, by the way.
Yeah.
So that changed. Yeah, I can only wonder what John's second question was. Maybe he'll call back and ask. But what since he was asking about kilowatt hours, if you call and you get Sam on the phone, can you negotiate with Sam? What kind of What kind of 10% rule do you have going?
Yeah, so Sam doesn't have a lot to negotiate with, and that's one of the things for BKV Energy is just provide the simple price and make it easy for customers. What we can help customers with is understanding maybe how long you're going to be in that house or apartment. Is a 3 or 4 month plan make sense to you, or can you lock something in because you're going to be stable for 36 months?
All right. Sam Luna, the Director of Product Marketing for BKV Energy. Sam, thank you so much for joining us. And your energy company has a lot of great advice on our YouTube chat, so head over there. That's going to do it for us for Hello Houston. We're going to
Thank you for being here, Chau, Doug.
You bet. Pleasure. Stay cool.
Right? It's been an honor to be with you.
Happy Labor Day, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from CertaPro Painters, offering residential and commercial painting services, from color consultations to full project management. Estimates and more at CertaPro.com.
This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 1 o'clock.
Funding for Here and Now comes from MathWorks, creator of Math